Welcome back to Bedtime Stories with Eli, and the topic of tonight's bedtime story is my fiancé 28M male is ignoring me 23F female, and my parents are forcing the wedding. Oh boy. One more time, my fiancé 28M is ignoring me 23F, and my parents are forcing the wedding. Sounds like an arranged marriage to me, which in this modern world really doesn't work. And they never really worked in the past, even during the days of traditionalism. But they worked more so back then. People dealt with them back then because women back in those days were completely dependent on a man for survival. And nowadays, women are independent and they're flexing their muscles. And so this was just very interesting. Let's get right to it. Very interesting, which is what I'm trying to say. All right, so this is from the subreddit Relationships, and the original poster's topic is my 23F fiancé 28M. You know, I think she just didn't title that well. That's why I changed the title up on mine to make it sound better. But she's a 23 female, and her fiancé is 28, male. Has been ignoring me for unknown reason. And my parents are forcing me to not postpone the wedding. Well, there's always a reason, ma'am. There's always a reason. You just haven't figured it out, or you haven't asked him, or maybe you haven't asked him in the right ways. Maybe you're coming at him in a very angry and bitter and upset way, and that's not the way to communicate with your man. That's not the way to communicate with anyone, let alone your partner that you're engaged to, right? Let's read what she wrote. A lot has been going on in my life and I feel like I can't handle it. Well, that's part of the problem, ma'am. And that's actually feminine energy. So, to some extent, I don't blame you because you're a lady and you have emotions, right? But yeah, if you can't handle it, then why be in it, right? Maybe you need to take some time to work on yourself. And you're young, you're 23. Your man is 28. He's a little bit older than you, right? I have recently lost a good job and I can't find a new one despite all efforts I put every day. That's because of your shitty attitude, ma'am. That's why you can't find a job, right? And look at you, ma'am. You're a lady, which, yes, women are liberated, they're independent, they're working today, they have the same rights that once only men had, right? There's no longer traditionalism, right? But it's not feminine energy to be behaving the way you are. In this situation, you should be going to your man and say, "Hey, babe, I'm not feeling that great, and I don't want to put this on you, but I could use your support, your emotional support. I need help finding a job. Can you help me?" Maybe if you approached your man in a very sweet and respectful way, he'd be willing to help you, and you wouldn't have this problem. But that's not probably what your family is telling you. They're probably telling you different, and you're in an arranged marriage, probably with someone that you really aren't that into or weren't into in the first place. I couldn't afford my flat anymore, which is an apartment. This is from another country. So I had to move in with my parents, who already think I am a failure as compared to my older siblings. Ma'am, if you allow yourself to feel like your parents think you're a failure, and unless they've come out and called you a failure, which parents that really love you and care for you wouldn't do that, then you're not a failure, ma'am. It kind of sounds like to me that you're just unhappy because you lost your job, probably because of job performance, or maybe you got laid off. And because you can't find a job like the one you had or equivalent to it, you're unhappy. I bet you could find a job that probably pays you half of what you work, half of what you made, but you're probably not willing to do that, right? Okay. The reason I did not move in with my fiance is our culture. Well, that's what's killing your relationship, because let me tell you something. I would never date a woman with a structured belief system, and I would also suggest to women to never date a man with a structured belief system. This is more so women that are putting this on their men. This is a structured belief system that you've been indoctrinated into by your family and some religion or something like that, ma'am. And this is 2022. This shit's not going to work nowadays. It's just not, right? We can't really live together before getting married. Well, that's the problem with that is, you're not going to have a chance to test drive the car before you get married. Now, I'm wondering if you both haven't even had sex yet. Let's see if that's going to come up, because if that's part of the thing, then oh boy. My wedding is in late February, and I honestly do not look forward to it at all. That means you don't feel it for this guy. You're not into him. Okay? Plain and simple. If you were into him, you'd want to spend every moment with him. Women that are into their man, want to see the man all the time. They want to be with the man as much as possible. They want to have a life with him, get married to him, have kids, everything. Ma'am, sounds like you've never been into this guy. It's not like I do not want to get married. I really love my fiancé and I want to spend the rest of my life with him. But for this, a huge wedding with more than 100 people was not necessary. Ma'am, it doesn't matter how many people are there or how few people are there. And what matters is if you really love the guy or not. Okay? And I think part of the issue here is that I bet you're like maybe Indian. I know the Indian culture is very strict with this. And sometimes even the Asian culture is too, right? If you're going to allow your family's strict cultural beliefs to control you, you're never going to find happiness with any man. Most men would not put up with this crap. I certainly would not. I would have asked you right away on a phone call if we met on a dating site and finding out that, okay, you won't move in with somebody before married, no premarital sex. Oh, well, that's not going to work for me. Best of luck to you. Good luck finding a guy that's going to conform to that, in 2022. And if they do conform to it, then they're just a sucker and they're a beta man. That's the bottom line. Let's see. I had asked him and my parents for a micro wedding, but my parents insisted on having a huge one. There's nothing wrong if they want to throw you a huge wedding or a small, whatever amount of people are there is irrelevant as long as you love the person you're with and you're happy with him. You're not happy with this guy, ma'am. If you were and you really loved him, you wouldn't be reacting this way. Okay? They manipulated me and I had to give in. They manipulated you, ma'am? It was your choice to give in. You're a grown-ass woman. You're 23 years old, right? You're an adult, right? If you allow them to manipulate you, that's on you, not on them. You need to stand up to your family and say, look, this is my life, my wedding. I love you, mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, whatever, right? Aunt, uncle, whatever. But please, this is a lot of pressure. Can we sit down and talk about this? I know we have cultural beliefs and all that, but this is 2022. Things are different nowadays, and I just want to make sure I'm going to be happy, which in turn will make you folks happy. Do you want what's happy for me, or do you want what's happy for you? Because what's happy for you is not going to make me happy, and then you won't be happy in the long run anyway, right? But you're not standing up to your family. You're not even standing up to your man. You're keeping quiet. You're keeping this all bottled up. So you come out here on Reddit and blurt out to the whole entire world anonymously, right? Instead of talking to the people that you need to talk to work this out, right? Wow. It was a bad decision because now they are using it against me by saying that I've always been indecisive. Well, ma'am, I'll be honest with you. They're probably right about that. Women, most if not all women, are very indecisive. Women change their mind all the damn time. That's because you're emotional beings, right? You respond to everything emotionally first, all the time, all day, every day, based on how you're feeling in the present moment, ma'am. So I will give him that. You've probably been very indecisive, but you're also 23 years old. And you got to understand, I'm assuming you're part of the Indian or Asian culture, right? Back in the days of traditionalism, okay, your culture was getting married at 18, 19, sometimes younger, right? Before all these laws came out, with the adults being 18 years of age or older, right? So your parents and other people within your culture, by the time they were 23, were married with 2 kids and living the family life. But things are different nowadays, and that's what you need to convey to your family. It's a different world we live in, especially if you're living outside of your cultural country. Now, if you're living in India or somewhere in Asia or somewhere where these structural beliefs are still somewhat relevant in this day and age, you gotta do what you gotta do. You still need to talk to your family and let them know how you feel about this. Okay, you're a modern woman living in an old school type of environment that your family and maybe your culture is still trying to push forth in this modern day of progression. Everything's progressed nowadays. Whether you like progression or not, it's there. And it sounds like you're a progressive type of woman. Like most people are progressive nowadays, and it's not a bad thing to a certain extent, right? But they're trying to hold you back to the old school way of doing things, right? Things have gotten worse because my fiance has been ignoring and avoiding me for 2 weeks now for some very unknown reason. He's annoyed with your shitty attitude, ma'am. You're not fun to be around. And if it's not a culture, if it's a cultural thing to not move in before getting married, to see if you can deal with living together before you get married, right? I'm assuming maybe you two haven't had sex because of your culture too, and that would annoy me. I wouldn't put up with that. And if you're getting no sex and you're not living together, and you have a shitty attitude, then what's the point? What's the point of even talking with you? What's the point of even dating you? Right? What do you have to offer to him, ma'am? Right? Okay? And you're unreasonable. You don't even know how to communicate properly. Right? Whenever I tried to talk to him, he kept making excuses saying that he's really busy. What that's saying, ma'am, is that he's not happy with the way you're showing up. He's not happy that you're not standing up to your parents and telling them that, hey, I don't want to do things the old school way from the past. We're in the modern world. I want to move in with my boyfriend and see how it's going to be to live with him, before we get married, to see if it's still worthy of getting married. The last thing I want to do, mom and dad, is get married to this guy without experiencing living with him or having sex with him. And then the sex is bad and we can't get along when we live together. And then we have to get divorced a month after we get married. That's what you need to say, man, but you're not saying that. You're not. He's been lying because he's always there when my parents need help with wedding preparations. Of course he's lying because he doesn't want to be around you because of your shit attitude and the way you're handling this, right? You're not handling this maturely, right? But he doesn't want to hurt you, and he's not telling you the truth because he knows you're going to overreact and it's going to just further annoy him. He's annoyed, man. He's been lying because he's always there when my parents need help with wedding preparations. He even took my cousins out for dinner when they were visiting us for holidays. He sounds like a good guy. Let's see. I was home and nobody asked me if I wanted to join. That's because you have a crappy attitude and no one wants to be around that, man. You got to change your attitude immediately. It sucks. Okay? I am really heartbroken after that. Well, you're going to be even more and more heartbroken, ma'am, until you change your shit attitude. That's the bottom line. And he may even leave you. He should leave you, actually. I wouldn't be putting up with this. I'd say, look, babe, I'll give you one shot to talk with your parents. I'll go with you if you'd like. Okay? But if that doesn't pan out and you can't rise above this and have a better attitude, then I'm going to have to move on. Because I don't want to waste my life dealing with drama. This is all drama. It's bullshit. That's what it is. Okay? Let's see. I never had good relationship with my cousins. Should be a good relationship with my cousins. So it was expected from their side, but from my fiance, I never expected such a thing, and I am sure he did it on purpose. He did nothing on purpose. He's still trying to be good to your family and give you some time and space to try to figure out how you're really coming off. He's looking to see if you're going to change your crap attitude. Right? He pulled away, and what happens? Now, you start to realize that there's something wrong. And until you figure out that what's wrong is how you're handling this, and then start taking actions to fix it the right way, he's going to keep pulling away from you, ma'am. I'm surprised he hasn't left you yet. So I never expected such a thing, and I'm sure he did it on purpose. I'm really disappointed, frustrated, and mad after that. I can't think of anything I have done wrong to make him this mad. Ma'am, I can think of 5 to 10 things off the bat right now what you've done wrong. I'm not going to mention them because I've been talking about it throughout this whole thing. Ma'am, you, you can't think of anything that you've done wrong, ma'am? Your attitude is crappy, first of all. You're not standing up to your parents on this cultural belief thing. Okay? You're not willing to move in with him to test the waters before you get married. You probably haven't even had sex with him, but you haven't mentioned that. Let's see if you even do. Okay? So, I mean, ma'am, and you say you're not sure what you've done wrong? You can't think of anything you've done wrong to make him this mad? He's probably not even mad at you. He's just giving you time and space because he's annoyed. He's just, like, this is just drama. I don't want to deal with drama. Man, you're creating too much drama for this guy. I have stopped trying to contact him after that, and whenever he visits now, I make sure to leave the house before he comes. I am so tired of this now. I asked my parents to postpone the wedding, and they got really angry at me. They refused to let me postpone the wedding since all preparations are almost done. Ma'am, you can't let your family control you and force you. If you're not feeling it with this guy, if you're having issues, the last thing you want to do is marry him. If I was this guy, I wouldn't marry you. But you haven't said, if he's still interested in marrying you or if he said we're taking a break. I feel abused and completely alone. No, ma'am, you're not abused. You're trying to play the role of the victim. Ma'am, your family is basically forcing, prehistoric cultural beliefs onto you. And you're trying to force that upon your man that's living in the modern world in 2022. And you're saying you feel abused and completely alone? If I was your man, I would say change your shit attitude immediately or I'm gone. And I would walk. And that'd get you to think about it. You were probably a spoiled brat by your parents growing up. That's why. You're a spoiled brat. Even my friends are not interested in anything I have to say. That's because they feel the same way as I do and your man does and everyone does. You're acting like a spoiled brat that got their toy taken away. Wow. They think I'm being dramatic and I need to enjoy the wedding I'm getting without having to spend my own money. I agree. Like I said earlier, ma'am, you're a drama queen. You're a drama queen, ma'am. This is all BS. You're unhappy at the way your family is forcing you to abide by the cultural beliefs. Your family's controlling you and you're taking it out on everyone else instead of talking to your family and saying, you know what? This is the modern world. I'm not going to sit here and deal with prehistoric, cultural beliefs, or structured belief system. Mom, Dad, we either tweak this a bit or I'm pulling out of this marriage. And you may have to stop talking with your parents for a while. Because you're not standing up to your parents, you're taking it out on everyone else and no one else wants to be around you. Ma'am, you're blaming everyone else for your problems with your parents besides yourself. Boy, it's a common thing that these young women do. Common thing. Some guys do it too, but more so women. The guys that do it are acting like women or worse than women. But anyway. Whew. Wow. They think I'm being dramatic and I need to enjoy the wedding I'm getting without having to spend my own money. Well, typically, the woman's family, traditionally in most cultures, pays for the wedding. But nowadays, both the man's family and the woman's family will typically contribute equally. That tradition has changed in the modern world. A lot of things have changed. It sounds like your family is still living in the past. And until you stand up to them and talk with them about it, ma'am, it's not going to fare well for you. It's just not. I act like this isn't So I act like this all isn't upsetting me anymore, but I know it is. I am hurt and confused. I feel like I have lost everybody I had. Ma'am, you've lost yourself. You have no self-love, no self-worth. You're a big crybaby. You're whining and complaining and bitching. No one wants to be around a person like that. I used to behave that way as a man at times in my teens and early to mid 20s. And people didn't want to be around me when I was like that. And I couldn't figure it out back then. As I got older, I started to realize, man, I was a whiny little bitch, right? When I turned that around, I started attracting everybody. You got to change your attitude, man. Stop whining. God, Jesus Christ. This is ridiculous. My fiance was my best friend, only he used to provide me all the emotional support my family has always failed to provide. So basically, ma'am, you didn't get enough strokes as a little kid from your family, which is your mother's fault and father's fault, right? So you were completely dependent on your man for emotional support. Now, nothing wrong with that as long as, you're reasonable. Okay? Nothing wrong with that as long as you're reasonable. My current woman that I'm dating, I wouldn't say she didn't have any emotional support from her family growing up, but it was kind of a rough upbringing for her. And yes, I have been emotionally supporting her, but I do it because I know she really cares about me. And she has been working so hard and has come such a long way in the 4 months I've been with her to work through a lot of past traumatic emotional issues because she really wants this to work with me, because she really appreciates and respects me. And I'm blown away by that. I've never actually been with a woman that has made this much effort because she really wants to have a life with me. And she continues to get better every day. She's just an amazing person. Ma'am, you gotta turn things around just like my lady did. Oh boy. I do not know who I should talk to. Maybe I need a therapist, but I can't afford one right now. Well, if your parents aren't supporting you because they're just stubborn or bad parents, I don't know. If your man's not talking with you, it's because you're not approaching him the right way. I would probably reach out to your man and say, babe, can we please talk? I'm not going to be mean. I'm not going to go crazy. I know I've been going kind of crazy. I really need your support. I really want to figure this out. And I want to do the right thing for the both of us. Take his thoughts and feelings into consideration. And see what he says. And if he helps you, then that's great. If not, and you don't have any friends that'll support you emotionally the right way, then you may need a therapist. Or a life coach like me could help you out, but the right life coach. And there are very few of us that could really, truly help you with this, that really understand what you're going through. Wow. Eventually, though, you'll figure it out on your own. By the time you hit your 30s, you'll figure this out, hopefully. But yeah, therapist in this case, or a good life coach that understands this at the level I understand it, yeah, we could help you. Let's see. Maybe need a therapist, but I can't afford one right now. Well, that's a problem, ma'am. If you can't afford it. What should I do to make this bearable for myself? Change your attitude, ma'am. Take things one day at a time, step by step. Don't expect anything from anyone, including your man or your family. And be honest with people. Tell your parents how you feel. Genuinely. Tell your man how you feel. Genuinely. But do it in a respectful and mature way. Right now, you're behaving like a little female dog, ma'am. Like a little teeny tiny female dog, whining and complaining. Instead of being mature and having a mature conversation with the people that you need to work this out with, which is your family, your parents, and your man. You sound like an immature, whining and complaining, spoiled brat. That's what it is. I have to go through a wedding with someone who doesn't even talk to me next month, and no matter what I do, I can't avoid it. Of course you can't. Ma'am, there's no law that's forcing you to marry this guy. Your parents can't force you to marry him. You can even go to the wedding and at the altar when they say, do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? You can say, I'm sorry, I don't. Yeah, you'll piss off a lot of people at that point. It'll be embarrassing with everyone being there. But you can even change your mind at the very last minute. You have options, man. You have options, and you're coming off like you don't have any options. This is ridiculous. I know asking a bunch of strangers over the internet won't really help much, but I am not left with many options now, and I will still appreciate any advice. I apologize for my English. This isn't my first language. What is your first language? TLDR. Currently living with my abusive parents, and I have to get married to my fiance next month, who's ignoring me for no reason. I don't know if I'd say your parents are abusive. They're just very old school, and they have very strict traditional values, very structured belief systems, and you gotta sit down and talk with them. And you can't get triggered, even if they do. You just have to have a reasonable conversation, tell them how you feel. If your parents didn't love you, they wouldn't let you live there at age 23. You're an adult, okay? Read a couple of comments here. Obviously, I don't know your cultural dynamics. Is this an arranged marriage? Do you have free will here? A wedding should be a rubber stamp of approval that the relationship you have right now is a good, healthy one. You shouldn't expect any large changes after the marriage. A wedding doesn't fix anything. That's true. You celebrate a great relationship by getting married. You don't get married hoping that it's going to turn your shitty relationship around. If your fiance is ignoring you and giving you the silent treatment, this is not a healthy relationship right now. This is a big warning telling you do not marry him. It will get worse after the wedding. It's a good point. Let me see if the original poster. There's one lonely side chick says, nah, fuck the culture that says you can't live with a spouse before marriage. That's a recipe for disaster. I'm going to give you a big round of applause for that. Oh, yeah. Easy to say, hard to live. Being outside those cultural pressures makes it really hard to understand them. Oh, yeah. Lonely side chick, the same one that said about the cultural thing a second ago. Screw it, right? I'm Indian Australian, and I don't know where original poster is specifically, but their culture is straight up identical, so they aren't too far off from me. There was no way on earth I was going to marry any of the 3 women my parents tried to set me up with. I spent heaps of my life repressing my sexuality and hating myself because of the antiquated death grip my family had on religion, tradition, and culture. Yeah, it's a structured belief system. It's horrible. As soon as I was financially able to leave post-university, I left and haven't looked back since. Good for you, bro. You freed yourself, man. It's like being in prison. These cultural belief systems that still exist with the Indian culture and the Asian culture and maybe a few others, right? The structured belief system, it's toxic. It's horrible. We've progressed way far beyond that. The people that are still stuck on that, it's just ridiculous. And I'm sure over the next, 100 years or so, all those people that still believe in those, those strict cultural beliefs, the structured belief system, they're going to be gone. It's going to go out the window. Happily dating an Australian man and living in America now, toxicity and homophobia free. It is easy being cut off from family and childhood friends. No, it is a burden I deal with daily. Was it worth it? Abso-fucking-lutely, and I do it again in the heartbeat. Congratulations. Good for you. Good for you. I really wish the original poster would respond to one of these messages here. But I don't think they have. Anyway, I'm going to read one more here. You're Indian or at least South Asian, aren't you? If you are, then I completely understand how helpless and lost you feel right now. I'm not going to read any more. It's really long. I'm going to wrap this up because it's getting long enough on this video anyway. but I had to read that because I feel the same way. I've dealt with women like this, and I've even worked with women like this when I used to work in the actual workforce before I became self-employed 15 years ago. You know, the Indian culture and the South Asian, that's what it is. The Indian culture and the South Asian culture, very structured. And even when I was single, before I found this wonderful woman I'm with right now currently, any Indian women or South Asian women I would come across, Asian women period, like they were the ones that were the I can't even talk, the heaviest guarded. They were very guarded. They would not flirt. They you know, like they're the type of women that would not even give you a kiss on the first date, right? And you don't want to be with a woman like that. You don't want to be with a man or a woman that has structural beliefs like that. But yeah, I've noticed the Indian culture and the South Asian culture, they still are very, very traditional, which traditional is not a bad thing, but when you force an old school structured belief system in this modern world that's progressed far beyond it, it's basically like trying to put your kids in jail. That's what it is. And that's where I'm going to wrap this video here today. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah, this woman is wow. I hope she finds a way out of this. I hope she stands up to her family. And she needs to get a job, make her own money, and she needs to get the hell away from her family for a while if that's the way that they're going to, force her to be. It's not a natural thing in this modern world. So again, I want to thank you all for taking the time to view this video. Another video is coming to this channel soon. Please like, share, subscribe, bang the bell, select the notifications. Have a great night's sleep, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.